Hey guys, what's up? Today I'm going to show you guys how you can make your own DIY bucket hat. It's going to be a step-by-step tutorial showing you everything. I wanted a certain type of bucket hat, one with a shorter brim, with the color blocking pattern, and something that was reversible. It's pretty hard to find this type, so I made my own pattern. If you guys want to make this at home, I got 3 options for you. 1, you can go on the link below and download this pattern. This is going to have all the stencils you need to trace onto your own fabric. The second option, I'm going to put together a DIY package. It's going to have the pattern, it's going to have both beige tone fabrics here, the right amount of fabric to recreate this hat, and some thread. So if you like this colorway, you can check the link below for the same 2-tone beige bucket hat to recreate it exactly the same. And the third option, I'll have a few bucket hats already made. If you don't want to sew, but you're still looking for a sick 2-tone beige reversible bucket hat, I'll do a few bucket hats made to order if you guys want to skip the whole DIY process and just rock this sick ass bucket hat. And I think that's it. So let's get started. So if you were to go with the DIY package, you'd get this light beige Gutermann thread, which is the best thread in the game. You'd get the bucket hat pattern, and then you'd get the 2-tone fabrics. This pattern would be printed on tracing paper or tissue paper. It's pretty standard for any pattern you buy. It's lightweight and it holds up well to clips and pins, so it's good to have. And then you'd also have the light beige and the dark beige or brown fabric. Some tips for going option number 1, where you print the pattern at home. You're going to want to print it out. Make sure you print it out 100% to scale, not fit to paper or anything like that. There should be 3 sheets. There's a little test score at the bottom to make sure that it's printed properly. And there's 4 different sizes, so you're going to want to take measuring tape, put it around your head, and see what size bucket hat you want to make. Ideally, you want to have 2 sets of scissors. Keep your fabric scissors exclusively for fabric, so use your everyday scissors to cut out the pattern. So the first step, you're going to want to iron out all the fabric you have. Make sure you iron it on like a lowish warm heat. Take your time with it and iron out both the light beige and the dark beige colored fabric. Once you're done that, take the light beige fabric, put it on your desk tall ways, and then fold it in half so it's even slimmer. Once you have the corners lined up, pin it or clip it in place, whichever you prefer. I'm more of a clip guy. I don't really like working with pins because they're so pointy. I always poke myself, so it's up to you. And then take the pattern pieces that you've cut out and place them on the fold. The pattern's going to show you which edge to line up on the fold, so just be aware of that and then pin or clip it in. And now it's time to pull out those shiny fabric scissors and cut out the fabric. Cut around the pattern. You're going to want to do this for the top piece and the brim and band piece. You'll see the instructions on the pattern. Once you're done the band and brim piece, take it off and you're going to cut a second piece of the brim and the band. And once you're done that, grab your pattern pieces, get your second fabric, and do the same thing. Cut out all the pieces that you need. Okay, so I'm done cutting everything. I'm going to walk through what I've done so far. I've cut out the pattern. We've got 4 pieces here for the band, 4 pieces for the brim, and 2 pieces for the top. So now we can put this pattern away, and we're gonna start with the bands. First things first, we're gonna set up the machine. I got my light beige Gutermann thread here, and it's gonna be a 3/8 seam allowance for the entire project. For this, I'm gonna do the tension at 9, needle position in the middle, width is 0, length is gonna be 3, and it's gonna be a straight stitch. So we're gonna take a primary and a secondary band piece. 2 different colors. For those of you who aren't super familiar with fabrics, there's a right side and a wrong side. This is a 12 fabric, you can tell from the diagonal woven lines, and this is considered the right side. And if we flip it over, you can see this other side's kind of more rough and unfinished. This is the wrong side. So what we're gonna do is put right side to right side like that. See how this is the wrong side, and this is the wrong side as well. And we're gonna wanna sew along this edge of the fabric at 3/8 of a seam allowance. Don't forget to do a reverse stitch at the beginning and the end. And there you have it. And I'm gonna do the bottom side now. So it's gonna be left and right. So right now, this is the first part of the band. We have the right sides together. When you flip it inside out to the actual hat, you're gonna have the right side on the outside. So we're gonna do the same with the other band. So now we have two bands. So now that we got our two bands, I'm gonna do a top stitch. I'm gonna fold these flaps down so that they stay flat, and I'm just gonna stitch on the top here. For that, I want to do less than 3/8 of an inch. So what I like to do is actually pull my needle position over to the right one, and that if I line up the edge of my presser foot to the connecting seam, I'm actually going to get a 1/4 inch stitch. That's going to set me up nice for a 1/4 inch top stitch. I'm going to do it on both sides of the connecting seam. So I'm going to do it on the left side and the right side. Now I have two bands done with the top stitch on the outside, so it looks finished. Now's a good time to double check that the hat will fit. Now what I want to do is find the right side of the fabric. Find the right side, you can tell by the diagonal pattern or woven pattern of the twill. And you're going to be able to see it's curved, so you'll know the shorter end is going to be where the top goes. So flip that inside out. So now it's still curved and you can see where the top is, and then you'll attach the bucket hat top. To make sure that the top of the bucket hat is sewn properly onto the band, we're gonna fold it in half and clip it, and then take your scissors and just cut this little tiny triangle or pizza slice on the corners, like that. It doesn't have to be big. Take it apart. Now you have little triangles here. Match those triangles up together so that we can cut the other third and fourth triangle. Now our top has these 4 pizza slices, so we'll set up the band with the same pizza slices to align it properly. Flatten out the band, fold it so that the connecting seams are together, and then cut your tiny little pizza slices on the top and bottom. And this will line us up for the top of the bucket hat and the brim of the bucket hat. Remember, wrong side on the outside. This is the right side, so I want the wrong sides. And I'm gonna line up this pizza with this pizza. Pizza to pizza. And then this is where you wanna clip it all the way around so that the band is attached to the top. And now we're gonna take our sewing machine and sew it together. Remember to do a 3/8 seam allowance. And if you need to adjust the fabric, make sure to do it when the needle position is down. You could take the needle wheel and rotate it clockwise. That'll push the needle to the very bottom, lift up your presser foot, and then try to get rid of any bunching, because that's pretty typical when you're sewing on a curve. So now we've stitched the top to the band. If you were to throw it inside out, so now right sides are out, this is the start of your bucket hat. Now before we move on to the top stitch for the band to top, what you're going to want to do is keep it inside out for a sec so that the wrong sides are facing the outside. And seal this excess, the seam allowance here that we have in the edge. Take your scissors and carefully cut little 1/4 inch notches. What this is going to do is help relax the fabric, so even though that is sewed down together, it's not bound up and there's less tension. Also be careful not to cut too close to the stitch line. And now I'm going to do another top stitch. To finish this up, I'm going to move the needle to the left side to get that 1/4 inch stitch. Once you're done that, you're going to repeat these same steps with the secondary fabric that you have. Now's a good time to press pause to use this as a prompt or a reminder to do a 3/8 seam allowance. You're going to start with attaching the bands, and then you're going to want to do a 1/4 inch top stitch on both sides of the connecting seam. Then cut the pizza slices on the top and band so they're aligned when you sew it together. Cut notches to relax the fabric because you're sewing on a curve, and then do your 1/4 inch top stitch. Alright, so once you're done sewing these tops and bands together, let's put them to the side and let's grab our brims. The brims. I did the first one, but I'm going to show you guys real quick. So I have right side. I want to put right sides together so that it's wrong side on the outside. There's a lot of sides. And to make sure that this is lined up properly and it's flat, I'm going to clip it together and then sew it together with the 3/8 seam allowance. Boom. Cut away, do the other side, And very quickly, I want to do a pizza cut. Then you're going to want to do the pizza cuts on the tops. You're going to match up the seams so that it's perfectly in half. And then you're just going to cut the whole little pizzas. One little pizza, match up the seams, second little pizza. Okay, so now we got some choices to make. Do you want to attach the brim to the hat so you have the inverted color blocking, or do you want to do the half and half? With this design, because I made it reversible, I actually did half and half on one side and you flip it inside out and it's the inverted color blocking on the other side. So customize this to how you guys want. To attach the brim to the hat, you want these seams, the connecting seams, to line up perfectly, because that's going to be very noticeable on these types of hats. So we're going to clip it right at the seam so that it doesn't move, and then clip the pizzas and the other seam. So before we start sewing, just double check right side, around the insides. These are the two seams that I want to start at, so I put clips on each side, that way I could feed this in properly to fit in between the presser foot. I want to double check that the seams are aligned. Boom. Crush it down 3/8 of an inch, middle position, and sew away. Alright, so now that we've attached the brim to the top, we're going to take our scissors, and again we're just going to notch it. That will just relax the fabric a little bit so it's not being pulled or strained too much, and it'll just help the fabric sit together better. And boom, flip it inside out. So this is the start of one side of your bucket hat. Now we're gonna do the exact same thing to the other side. Remember to cut your pizza slices, line those up, put right side to right side together, and sew a 3/8 seam allowance, and then notch it at the end. So I don't usually do this mid-video, but if you guys are liking these DIYs, subscribe, because I got a lot more beginner level tutorials as well as expert level, a bunch of different types. So subscribe, because I know a lot of you watching are actually not subscribed. Now we have our two bucket hats, each side here. Put one on top of the other and smash it down. Find the seams, nothing new here guys. Find the seams, match connecting seams together, clip them down, match up the pizza slices, and we have ourselves an almost finished product. Now because this is going to be reversible, we need a way to pull this inside out after. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put two clips here, and it's going to be wide enough that when I'm done, I'm going to skip this part, I'm going to open it and pull everything out. This is 5 inches. So line up the edge of your hat with the edge of the presser foot so we could do that 3/8 seam allowance all the way around up to that 5-inch marker. We've sewed these together, so let's notch the edges real quickly. Alright guys, here's the final finale, let's call it, where we flip the bucket hat inside out and see how it looks. We see if all that hard work was worth it. Delicately try to flip the bucket hat through the hole, and we have here the two-tone beige reversible DIY bucket hat for you. So I'm actually going to switch the presser foot real quick. I'm going to swap this one out for this one so that I can get a closer stitch to the edge, and I'll show you guys up close. Let's take the bucket hat and find the opening and roll it in on itself. Try to imagine rolling it in 3/8 of an inch, and this is where we're going to start stitching. I'm going to throw it under here and see how this presser foot I can get a lot closer to the edge. Don't forget to reverse stitch and then go along the whole brim. So the edge of the fabric is with the edge of this presser foot, and we're going to go all the way around. The other option is you can use the same sewing foot that we used before and just do a 1/4 inch stitch all the way around. Okay, so once you've added a stitch all the way across to the edge, at the very edge of the hat, now I'm going to do from that stitch, I'm going to go 1/4 inch in, I'm going to sew another line all the way around, and then a 1/4 inch, 1/4 inch, 1/4 inch. Do as many as you like. This will help give the brim some structure, and it'll keep the two hats together so it's not all flimsy inside each other. So I'm going to do a 1/4 inch, put the presser foot down, move my sewing needle to the right one, and I'm going to line up the right side of my presser foot to the latest stitch, and I'm going to sew around the brim 5 times, each of them a 1/4 inch apart, take your time with this part because it's the last step. So let's just try to get it as clean as possible. And now you have your own DIY bucket hat. It's time to build some fire fits with that, accessorize it, maybe make a matching two-tone bandana necklace. If you're still in the DIY mood, maybe head there. Peace. Oh, let's talk about pizza? It's getting me kind of hungry.